Hello, my friends. Happy Halloween. Let's practice our English listening skills with the scary story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. Do you believe in ghosts? Well, there are some places where people do, and for good reason. If you travel up the Hudson River from noisy and crowded New York City, you will come to a cozy little valley hidden away among high hills where time seems to have stopped. The people who lived here are the families of the first Dutch settlers. They like their old ways and see no reason to change or leave their quiet farmland to travel to the big cities of the outside world. There certainly is an enchanted feeling that hangs over this region, and it's easy to believe that some very strange things can happen here. In fact, everything is so dreamlike in this little valley that it's known by the name of Sleepy Hollow. One day, a long time ago, a stranger came to Sleepy Hollow. He was so tall and so thin that you might have mistaken him for some scarecrow that had run away from its cornfield. His name was Icabod Crane, and he had traveled all the way from Connecticut to be Sleepy Hollow's new school teacher. Ichabod did not make much money as a teacher, and although he was tall and thin, he enjoyed eating. So on cold autumn evenings, Ichabod loved to visit with the old Dutch wives, eating and listening as they told their tales of haunted houses and haunted fields and haunted brooks and haunted bridges, not to mention numerous ghosts. It was on one such evening that he first heard the story of the most famous spirit of them all. It was, they said, the ghost of a Hessian soldier who, during the Revolutionary War, had his head shot off by a cannonball. They buried his body in the churchyard, said one old lady, but they never found his head, added another. His ghost rides out in the gloom of the night to the old battlefield where he searches for his lost head. And then he thunders back along the roads as if on the wings of the wind until he reaches the church bridge where he vanishes in a flash. He is known as the headless horseman of the valley. "Oh dear!" exclaimed Ichabod, who had a most fearful walk home that evening, imagining he saw the ghostly form of the headless horseman in every shadow that crossed his path. Luckily, the next morning, the sun shined and Ichabod relaxed. Another way that Ichabod earned money for his food was teaching people to sing. Every Sunday after church, Ichabod taught singing. Among the ladies that Ichabod taught was Katrina van Tassel. She was the only daughter of a rich Dutch farmer. She was a beautiful girl and had round, red, rosy cheeks. Ichabod had a soft and foolish heart for the ladies and soon found himself in love with Miss Van Tassel. Ichabod's eyes opened wide when he saw the riches of Katrina's farm. The miles of apple trees and wheat fields, and hundreds of farm animals. He saw himself as the master of the Van Tassel farm, with Katrina as his wife. But there were many problems blocking the road to Katrina's heart. One was a strong man named Brom Van Brunt. Brom was a hero to all the young ladies. His shoulders were big, his back was wide, and he always won the horse races around town. Brom was never seen without his horse. He was the enemy Ichabod had to defeat to win Katrina's heart. Stronger and wiser men would not have tried, but Ichabod had a plan. He could not fight his enemy in the open, so he did it silently and secretively. He made many visits to Katrina's farm and made her think he was helping her sing better. Time passed, and the town people thought Ichabod was winning. Brom's horse was never seen at Katrina's house on Sunday nights anymore. One day in autumn, Ichabod was asked to come to a big party at the Van Tassel home. He dressed in his best clothes. A farmer loaned him an old horse for the long trip to the party. The house was filled with farmers and their wives, daughters, and sons. The tables were filled with different things to eat, and wine filled many of the glasses. Brom rode to the party on his fastest horse. All the young ladies smiled happily when they saw him. Soon, music filled the rooms, and everyone began to dance and sing. Ichabod danced with Katrina, and Brom looked at them with a jealous heart. The night passed, the music stopped, and the people sat together and began to tell stories. After the stories, the party began to break up. The old farmers gathered their families in their wagons and left the party. Ichabod was the last to leave, and in the very late hour of the night, he mounted his old horse and set out for home. All the tales of the ghosts that he heard that evening now suddenly came back to him. The night grew darker and darker. Suddenly, he heard a noise, and his teeth chattered at the sound. But it was only a tree branch rubbing on another as they swayed in the breeze. He passed quietly. A small brook crossed the road and ran into a dark hollow. A few rough logs served as a bridge over the stream. Ichabod attempted to go quickly across the bridge, but his old horse came to a stop and refused to move. In the dark shadow of the grove, Ichabod saw something, a huge shadow. His heart began to thump, and he demanded, "Who are you?" There was no reply. Once again, he called out, "Who are you? Speak!" Ichabod's hair stood on end as the silence continued. The school teacher used his heels on the horse, who finally started to move forward. But The shadowy figure was now also moving. Ichabod urged his horse to run faster, but the stranger equaled the speed on his horse. They came to the top of a hill, and the dark figure could be seen clearly against the sky. The stranger was headless, and not only that, but he carried his severed head in front of him on the saddle. Ichabod's terror rose to desperation. He showered kicks and blows on his terrified horse, who leapt into action. But the ghost followed right behind. Away they dashed, stones flying, flashing at every bound, over the road, plunging down. Into the hollow they raced, over logs, under branches, galloping side by side. Faster, faster, Ichabod urged. The horse bolted ahead, and suddenly the saddle slipped from beneath him. It fell to the earth and was trampled under the thundering hooves of the demon horse. Ichabod clung to the neck of the horse and raced for his life. An opening in the trees revealed the church bridge. If I can reach the bridge, Ichabod thought, I'm safe. Another kick to his horse, and the horse jumped across the bridge. He thundered over the planks, and he reached the opposite side. Ichabod looked behind him, hoping to see the ghostly horseman vanish in a flash of fire. But instead, the ghost rose from the horse, and in the very moment threw his head at Ichabod. Ichabod tried to dodge, but it was too late. It hit him with a tremendous crash. The next morning, Ichabod's horse was found without his saddle, happily chomping the grass at his master's home. Ichabod did not come to breakfast. His students came to the schoolhouse, but there was no teacher. In one part of the road leading to the church, a saddle was found, trampled in the dirt. There were tracks of horses' hooves which led to the bridge, where the hat of Ichabod was discovered. They searched and searched for Ichabod, but they did not find him. The only thing they found was lying near his hat. It was the broken pieces of a round orange pumpkin. The town people talked about Ichabod for many weeks. They remembered the scary ghost stories of the valley. And finally, they came to believe that the headless horseman had carried Ichabod away. As for Katrina, her mother and father gave her a big wedding when she married Brom Van Brunt. Many people who went to the wedding saw that Brom smiled whenever Ichabod's name was spoken. And they wondered why he laughed out loud when anyone talked about the broken orange pumpkin found lying near Ichabod's